Hi guys, welcome back. Today I am crocheting a brown cat beanie with literally just Walmart yarn, guys. Brown Walmart yarn. And today I wanted to share some ghost stories in honor of Spooky Month. I just looked up ghost stories on Reddit, so we're pretty chill with this one, guys. It's give me your best spine-chilling real-life ghost story with under paranormal encounters. So first I just wanted to show you my progress. I haven't gone very far, just a few rows, and I want to make it big enough obviously to wear. Sorry, I'm out of breath. Also, sorry if the camera quality is not great. I'm filming on my iPad this time, so hopefully it will be okay when I go back to watch it. If not, I'll try to change it, whatever. Okay, let's start with our first ghost story. So this is from Snoo Hamsters on Reddit. Let's see. Alright, so they start with, I've seen enough things that I no longer get scared, but I will share 3 things. The most recent was within the last 5.5 months. A friend of 20 plus years passed away last September. He was a heavy smoker and collected magazines. A few weeks after he moved on, my home would smell like wet cigarette butts in an ashtray and boxed books. This went on for about a week, and I wasn't the only one who could smell it. I drove to my grandmother's, whose house is notoriously haunted. Everyone has seen or heard something after my mother passed away. As my grandmother and I were talking in the living room, I saw this thing, which I dismissed as eye fatigue from driving for several hours, floating down the hallway towards the living room. It was transparent as a jellyfish and was the size of a standard can of paint. I watched it slowly move towards us and ignored it until it started darting in and out of the entryway into the kitchen. At that point, I got up briskly and walked outside, leaving my grandmother in mid-sentence. She followed me outside and I told her what happened. She said there was nothing in the house that could hurt me, to which I said, Pavo break. Okay, Pavo. Get into the camera, Pavo. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Okay. Let's see. To which I said, but it can make a person hurt themselves. Yes, I have a mouth on me. We eventually went back inside, but I sat in a different chair so that I couldn't look down the hallway. A year before that, my daughter, who was a little over 2 years old, and I went to visit. As we were leaving, I asked if she had a nice time, and she said yes, but who was the other lady? I tried getting a description from her, but she could tell in my voice something was wrong and told me that she didn't want to talk about it. I tried again, and she said, I don't want to talk about it. We drove in silence until she fell asleep in her car seat. I called my grandmother after we had gotten home, and we talked about it for a while. Okay, a 4th thing. A relative passed away last year. I stayed 3 days at the house, slept in the living room. The first night, something kept pulling on the bedding. This went on for a while and stopped once I ignored it. Okay, that is our first story. I thought was interesting. And then someone commented on that post that they were surprised that the 2-year-old had that level of awareness, and there was a reply from the original commenter or the original poster, who says, funny that you mentioned my daughter's awareness at 2. My wife and I never used to baby talk when she was growing up. A friend of ours had a child 2 months earlier, but went the baby talk way with them. and they had their own kind of language. Then again, it would just have hold on, sorry guys. Then again, it could have just been them. The thing was just like a blob that you could see through a soap bubble. I googled cells under a microscope, and the closest shape I could find was a monocyte. It wasn't completely round. My grandparents' home has 4 bedrooms, but a long hallway, which is kind of shaped like the number 5, without the bottom portion of the number. Okay, so like this shape, like L-shaped. My grandmother has been gone since 2016, but when I went out for her funeral, I saw a shadow of a child with pigtails that would move in and out of the shadows in the hallway while speaking to my sister in the kitchen. You could make out the pigtails. Last year was the first time I'd gone back since then, and I was concerned I was going to see something because the relative who had passed on had seen something along with my late grandmother. They both said they were sitting in the living room and heard the doorknob of the bedroom my grandfather slept in. They slept in different bedrooms, and looked up to see what appeared to be my grandfather. They said his mouth was moving, but they couldn't hear what he was saying. This is the weirdest part. They said the only thing he was wearing was a red loincloth. One of my uncles and his wife now live there, and my uncle said things don't seem to happen as frequently as when he was living there. His wife only talks about occasionally feeling like she is being watched. It is a strange house. Even people who aren't familiar with the place have said or seen things. My father, who is a retired battalion fire chief, won't set foot in the place, and he has seen some things because of his job, and during his time in the military or the war. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean spooks and spectral type stuff. My uncle said that the relative who passed away last year saw a cat run through a wall. The last time I was scared to stay there, which was 30 years ago, prior to last year, something kept pacing around the bed I slept in, to the point I slept on the couch in the living room. One evening I woke up and there was something that was looking at me through, as though it were on top of me. All I could see were eyes. I just stared back at it as my brain tried to process what I was seeing, or until I knew that I was actually awake. Then, I jumped up and tripped over my feet. Sorry, I skipped ahead. The scariest thing, up until that point, which was the breaking point, was when I decided to stay there alone. Because my grandfather was at work, and my grandmother, who had a thing for canning, had gone out to get peaches for preserves. I stayed behind, because any road trip with her turned into hours, which I figured it was early in the day and they would get home before sundown. They didn't. I opened all of the doors and sat closest to an exit and watched television. So I'm sitting in the living room and hear what sounds like someone walking from the back bedrooms. I pick up the pace as though someone were running towards me. I had my back to the hallway. I ran out of the house, down those steps, which led to the street, and I was looking up at the living room window. I could see a shadow, as though a person was walking into the living room. As it got closer to the window, my grandparents in separate cars pulled up. My grandmother and I used to have a thing where our calls would end with her telling me the latest ghost gossip. She had 3 daughters, all of whom left this place before she did. She would tell me about seeing them, sometimes separately, sometimes together, and one time crawling with a smile on its face before it climbed into the bed with her. She said that she was looking out of the living room window and saw 3 of them, as children, walking with another person. She said they stopped, and one of them pointed to the house, but they didn't make eye contact with her, and then they just walked on. Oh, and the neighbor across the street and to the side reported seeing things when no one was home. I don't mean offense to anyone. Let's see. But I believe let's see if I can pronounce this word. Ecclesiastes, it's from the Bible, guys. Ecclesiastes, something 9:5 says, but I saw something twice and looked like my fiance decades ago after she moved on. It was sitting in a chair at a salon she frequented, and it was wearing 2 layers of white. It didn't look at me, but was looking forward, and there was no mistake, it looked like her. Plus, it disappeared, and it wasn't my imagination. Last one in June of... Okay, this is their last story that they're telling. In June of 2016, I stopped to get a bite to eat and a pint. And as I was waiting for my order, I looked up from my phone, and a lady who was walking down the row nearest to my table smiled at me. I'm a fairly friendly person, so I smiled back. As I got closer, I got that feeling when you see someone you know but haven't seen in a while. The woman looked like my mother. I looked around to see whether or not other people were seeing what I was seeing, but folks continued talking and eating. I was seated in a way that it would have walked past my back. I immediately sent my sister a text message, had my food and pint, and went home. Okay. So that was their last story. Interesting. So that was the some ghost stories for today from that one person on Reddit. And if you guys would like, you could send me your own ghost stories. I'd be really interested to hear. I have a few experiences that I've had in my life that were pretty interesting. Oh, that yarn. I'd say that those experiences have led me to believe in a higher power that I cannot deny. Let's see if I can share one. My aunt, she passed away in, what year was it? It was 2023, in February, and, we had to go clear out her apartment, and I was just looking at all of her stuff, thinking like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do with this? And I am a person, I had really, really high anxiety at the time, and I was like super anxious constantly, never calm. And then I just hear my aunt's voice saying, it's okay. And immediately, like, this never happens, the anxiety went away completely, and everything was fine afterwards. So that's one of the experiences I've had. Let me know if you guys have experiences you want to share. I'd love to read them on my channel. That would be awesome. So another encounter that I've had was my grandpa passed away back in 2018 when I was 13, and I haven't had any experiences with him until last Thanksgiving. It was Thanksgiving Day in the evening, and I was just sitting in my grandparents' house. I was sitting just alone in the living room, and everyone else was in the other room. And then I hear, like, everyone, like, so there's a hallway. I'm in the living room, and people are in the kitchen and the dining room away, so the hallway was empty. And I hear creaking on the floor in the hallway, like someone was coming down the hallway. I heard it consistently, far away, getting closer, and immediately what came to my mind was my grandpa, like the way he would, like the way he breathed. He had sleep apnea, and so he kind of breathed, like his breathing was really audible. And that was like the first thing that came to my mind, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's my grandpa coming down the hall to greet us. Like he used to do when we were kids. That's what he would do all the time. He'd come from his bedroom down the hall into the living room to greet us when we were little kids. So that was the most recent, well, no, that was the second most recent experience I've had with family members, or just spirits in general. The most recent one was I was alone in the house, in my room here, and Pavo, actually, he like got up from his bed that I have under my desk, and he goes to look in the hallway, and my sister's room is right across from my room, and he goes, he's like, you know how cats are when they're cautious when they're meeting someone new. He was like that, exactly like that, looking into my sister's room like someone was there. And so, like, I just believed that it was my aunt again, who I think, you know, she's been watching over us. I feel like our loved ones that have passed on are still out there, watching over us. So the only experience I've had, it's not really spooky. They're mostly good experiences, which that's a plus, right? It'd be a little crazy if I had a bad experience. But yeah, something I do want to do is ghost hunting. I've never been ghost hunting, and I'd love to go. In the town I live in, there's a town nearby that has an old tuberculosis hospital that's turned into a hotel, and I really want to go. Maybe that's something I could do for a future video. Could share my experience with that. Anyways, I might not finish this beanie tonight. It's, I'm kind of a slow crocheter. I've gotten faster with practice, but I'm not exactly the fastest. So, let me see if I can change these lights. Got all these fairy lights off Etsy, and I didn't realize that they were individual fairy lights. I thought it was going to be 30 feet long, but they were 6 of them that added up to 30 feet. So now I have a bunch of fairy lights, which they're super pretty, but I have no idea what to do with them. So yeah. Let's see. Could have sworn I'd saved another spooky story. Aha. Guys, I found another spooky story. So, this is from Zealous Ideal Eye, also under Paranormal Encounters. So, they say, I'll give you a 2-for-1. I moved around a lot as a kid. We were the kind of family that would have boxes that would always go unopened and undisturbed between moves. My dad was a good guy, but had issues with authority, so he usually had issues keeping a stable job for more than a year or so. When the lease was up, we'd move closer to his new job. Anyways, During one of these moves, my dad found a steal next to his job. It was an old two-bed, one-bath house with a detached garage. I want to say it was around $300 a month for rent in 2003. In this economy. Apparently, it was a rough part of town. The landlord told us, I won't go into specifics, but I am required to tell you that someone had passed away in the house within the last 5 years. My dad saw a great deal and shrugged it off. We moved in soon after, and things started very quickly. There were noises in the house all the time. It was like we had other people living there. It would generally be noises that you'd expect when other people are around. Things like drawers opening and closing, doors swinging around on their own, water turning on in the bathroom and then back off. Nothing malicious was happening, so we just lived with it. Another weird quirk about the house was that the front door had a keyhole on both sides, so you could not leave the locked house unless you had the keys. You can probably guess where this is going, but not a week or so after we moved in, we lost the keys. Boxes still littered the house, and we were still in unpacking hell. So my dad, obviously stressed from the whole situation, started getting loud about the keys. He accused me of stealing them. He was cursing and being a general pain. Then, out of nowhere, we hear the keys hit the floor in the living room, right in front of the couch, right onto the floor. He picks them up, tries to rationalize what just happened, says screw it, and leaves the house for work. Over the next few months, the stupid keys are the center of the activity. My dad would put them in a glass bowl on top of the tube TV every day after work, and somehow they would be moved by morning. My favorite spot was by far when we found them in a sealed box of pots and pans that we needed to unpack. It had those little handle holes on the side of the box, and it's like someone just shoved them into the hole out of spite. We all got a good laugh out of that one. Right now, you're probably like, okay, what's spine chilling about some noises and some keys moving around? Well, here you go. The worst thing that happened fairly frequently was the stomping. Most nights around 2 to 3 a.m., there'd be very heavy footsteps pacing in the hallway outside of our bedrooms. I confirmed with my dad when I was older that yes, it kind of freaked him out too. We had been living in this place for about 8 months at this point, and I was probably around 8 years old, heard the stomping one night, and I couldn't take it. I screamed out into the hallway, "Stop stomping around, I need to sleep." 15 seconds of silence was abruptly interrupted by what sounded like a bull running full speed to my room. Then the door had 3 very aggressive slamming knocks, one after another. It was so loud my dad woke up and came to check on me. My stomach started to turn, and I suddenly felt like I had to use the toilet. I was frozen in bed when I heard my dad call out to me, "You okay, buddy?" from his bedroom. I mustered up the courage to head out into the hallway. As I got up, I could tell something wasn't right. I was shaking like a leaf. I ran as fast as I could to the toilet, but it did not help. Oh my gosh, this is crazy, guys. My poor dad, worried about my safety, followed me into the bathroom and figured out what just happened. I explained everything, crying, making a mess of myself in the house. Wow, guys, this is detailed. I was embarrassed and terrified. After this, my dad told me, "If you ever feel uncomfortable, you can come sleep in my room. Nothing can bug you when I'm around." The final straw came a week later. My dad had been dating a girl for over a year, and she had been staying with us more and more. One of the nights she stayed over, they had a really minor fight right before bed. It's probably about cleaning or chores. Anyways, they both went to bed grumpy about it. Right around the magic 2 to 3 a.m. mark, his girlfriend got yanked out of bed by one of her ankles and got dragged out of the bedroom down the hallway. By her account, she woke up after she was on the floor and felt someone pulling on her leg, and it took her a while to realize what was happening. She shrieked, and whatever it was, let go. She ran back into the bedroom and turned the lights on and explained the whole thing to my dad. He sent me off to an aunt's house and stayed in the house alone for a few months while looking for another place to go. I figured it would be safer without me there. During the packing and moving out of the house, my dad had some friends swing by to keep him company while he packed. Almost everyone who came by to help mentioned that they saw a small white dog walking around right where they entered the house. So, interesting. I think I had another story. Okay, those were the 2 stories that I had for you guys today. So I hope you enjoyed them. That last one was... the ending got pretty scary, but during the middle I was like, oh my gosh. Right. Well, I will show you guys the hat when I finish it. So thanks for tuning in. I will see you in a bit. Hi guys, so it's the next day and I finished my cat beanie. And I have, let's see if I can find it. I'm going to add, hold on, this little star that I made. I'm gonna add a star on it. So yeah, I will show you the process. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for following me along with my progress and the ghost stories. Let me know what you want to hear from me, and if you like what I'm doing, or if you want to hear more ghost stories, or share your own ghost stories. I'd love to read them. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next video.